Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order on Thursday, November 6th here at the Grandview Resource Center. This is fantastic. I am going to start with our land acknowledgement. Okay, we have a ghost. It's fine. The Durham District School Board acknowledges that many Indigenous nations have longstanding relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories on which our school board and schools are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that the Durham region forms a part of the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, the Mississauga peoples, and the treaty territory of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we teach, live, and learn. To follow it up with our human rights statement, the Durham District School Board recognizes Indigenous rights are distinct. In the exercise of those rights, Indigenous staff and students shall not be subjected to actions with the aim or effect of depriving these distinct rights. The Durham District School Board is committed to providing learning and working environments that center human rights and equity and are safe, welcoming, respectful, equitable, accessible, inclusive, and free from all forms of discrimination, oppression, harassment, and harm. Oh, it's mouthful. Okay. I'd like to then go over and start with our roll call. I will start to my right today.
Hi, everyone. Joe Wrigley, System Lead, Inclusive Student Services, pronouns he, him.
Awesome.
Oh, sorry.
I went to the right today. Sorry. I messed you all up. Sorry.
Allison Amer, Easter Seals.
Jen McLaughlin Sabana.
Charmaine Brown, Interior Parents of Visually Impaired Children.
Elizabeth Daniel, the Learning Disabilities Association of Durham Region.
Early Marie Fellon, Vice Principal, Durham District School Board.
Jordan Duriakis, Association for Bright Children.
Donna Edwards, Trustee for Ajax.
Anthony Phelan, Secondary School Representative.
Connor Jenkinson, System Lead with Inclusive Student Services.
Lauren Bliss, Superintendent of Inclusive Student Services.
Rai, Recording Secretary.
And Tara Cully, Durham Down Syndrome Association and Vice Chair. We have regrets today from Eva Kyriakides. So thank you, Jordan, for stepping in as our alternate. We also have regrets from Shauna Haley from Grandview and Jessica Wells, one of our members at large. Oh, and thank you, and Michelle Arsenault, trustee. All right then. Could I, oh goodness me. Go change glasses, everybody, apologies. Better. All right, so moving on to approval of the agenda. Could we also add under the association reports our Easter seals as well? Allison, I believe that got sent
Yes.
in. So as long as everyone okay with that, any questions or comments on the agenda?
One quick additional addition
Okay.
under staff report, just adding sharing of Life Beyond High School event that we had last night. We just wanted to share a little bit
Oh,
about that
okay,
as well.
please. Thank you. That will be great.
Hi, Kelly.
Come on, Danny. Thank you. All right. With that, could I get, oh, I think we've got extra chairs here, Kelly. There's some more chairs. Just got chairs. Good. We're good. Okay. Did I get a motion to approve the agenda? Allison, seconds. Elizabeth, all in favor? Good. Working on to the minutes from October meeting, October 16th. Does anybody have any questions, comments, submissions? Donna?
Yeah, just the board report there. I wanted to make some clarity in some of the writing that was in there as far as that was concerned. So I would kind of resubmit sort of the write-up of it that, you know, make a little bit more clarity on it, what I said.
Okay.
But it's basically the same thing. Just reworded slightly differently.
Okay.
And I'll submit it for, unless you want me to, I can read it out if you want.
Does anybody need to hear it right now? Are we okay? We're okay. We'll trust you, Donna.
Okay. 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 So I'll be just so with those revisions to accept the minutes if you're going to ask for approval. Then.
Okay. All right. So does anybody have any concerns with Donna adding the clarity from the board report from last month? Seeing none? Okay, motion to submit with inclusion of Donna's updates. I get a motion for that? Allison, second, Elizabeth, all in favor? All right, here we go. Moving on to item number 7, staff reports. Who's doing staff
Connor
report?
is starting us off tonight.
Thank you, Connor.
All right, so apologies that the impact update is not part of the package yet. We will send that out from there. We were just trying to do little finishing tweaks and we just weren't quite able to get there. Called me being a little bit too picky in terms of some of the wording and some of the other things as well. So it's all good. So this month's impact update will be around community partnerships, but specifically about student mental health and well-being and how some of those community partnerships are actually kind of highlighted within that. So we know that as part of our multi-year strategic plan that we have our connected communities section and really trying to highlight the fact that we are connected to our communities, that we are looking at all those broad efforts that are around with students as well. And then also in our mental health and well-being action plan, student action plan, we also have the pillar around connect to pathways, and that's about strong pathways to, from, and through meaningful support for the mental health and well-being of every student that is identity affirming and culturally relevant. So there are many different partners that the DDSB is happy to be able to partner with, including the Women's Multicultural Education and Resource Center, where they offer identity affirming mental health and social support programming, as well as Ontario Health at Home through their mental health and addictions nurses, which are very well utilized throughout our community within the Durham region. And they provide some really important support for a lot of our students and oftentimes are one of those first points of reach out. And we've seen great efficacy with a lot of our community partners as well and continue a lot of that contact. So this impact update is really about where some of those impacts actually do lie and how that's actually being accessed throughout the community. And again, just highlighting the fact that I know we can always say that there are points where we know that mental health is something that's really important for all of our community partners and that we always want to, I mean, it's always different things we want, but we are very proud with the partnerships that we do have and with the connections that we do have to our community partners, because they do some great work in support of our students when they aren't within the walls of the DDSB and really looking at all those things as well. So that's it for impact update. I'll pass the mic over to Joe.
Thanks, Ryan. So if I can kindly ask. It's my pleasure tonight. Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks so much for this piece again. Kindly ask to direct your attention to the screen while I provide some narrative over top of this lovely slideshow from our event last night. Each and every single one of you have been provided with a copy of the event guide that was given out at the event. The event being the Life Beyond High School. This event brought together 50 community agencies that support, that supports various members of our community. And we're really, really proud of the work that the team, the transition coordinator team of Ashley, Sade, and Braden, they put into this event. It was very well attended, a lot of positive feedback. We'll have more specifics around numbers of attendees and their feedback as well later on in the year when we've got that collated. But I just wanted to share what an amazing event it was. There was a real energy into the room and it was very positive. And so for those who were not able to attend, we want to make sure that everyone was given this guide, and it has a lot of, tremendous resources for you to share and to pass around. So just wanted to highlight that as a really successful evening last night, and a great way to make connections. Probably one of the best takeaways for me was not only the personal connections that I could make, but watching as community agencies found a vehicle and a method to connect with each other. And you would hear like, oh, I'm so happy to hear that different agencies were together. They would connect and talk and collaborate that way. So it was not just a fabulous networking event and support event for the families and students that we serve, our young people that we serve, but also for the agencies themselves. So it was great. Yeah, and I think it was a pretty positive event. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that. And then moving on to the second item that I am here to share a little bit about is the age of majority procedure. So today I'm going to be sharing a summary of the age of majority procedure. This outlines the rights and responsibilities for adult students and independent minors. It highlights how our schools can manage student privacy, decision-making, communication with families as students reach the age of majority. As a general overview, the procedure is in alignment to ensure that students, when they reach the age of 18, or for those who are independent minors, maybe 16 or 17, are being treated and we're following all of the required legislation outlined in the Education Act, MFIPA, Age of Majority and Accountability Act. And it really, if I could highlight it into one sentence, it really is to emphasize student autonomy and privacy rights. This talks about the rights of adult students in this procedure, such as full access to the Ontario student record, authority over course selections, right to receive and withhold communication, etc. Further, this procedure talks about the responsibilities of adult students, such as keeping up emergency contact updated and submitting consent forms, managing their own educational progress. So it really is helping them take on all those added adult responsibilities when they reach that age. There are sections that talk about the consent to share information. It must be voluntary, specific, informed, and time limited. It also talks about what the school's responsibilities are, talks about guardianship and capacity. It also goes a little bit more into detail around all those areas of how we can support students. One of the pieces that we recognize is that there are some key pieces that, you know, as this has rolled out, we recognize that there may have been difficulties in the rollout. So what we have done currently in order to support our principals and our school leaders is that we've just asked them for right now just to take a pause, to keep status quo as the things are there. Because in essence, what we don't want to do is create a problem where there was no problem. We don't want to put up barriers unintentionally for families who are coming alongside and supporting you know, their children through the system. As an example, some of the questions that we were receiving from principals seeking clarity was, you know, if once a student's 18, can we still include their parent in a meeting or a phone call, right? And of course, the answer is yes. And talking about what does consent look like? If the student consent, of course, you know, we also have to think and challenge ableist thinking when we're talking about what consent could look like. So consent can be communicated in a variety of ways, including not just verbal responses, written communication, gestures, sign, through assistive or augmentative communicative or AAC tools. And if the student agrees, then we would move forward. But I think that really the piece that we as a team, as a system really want to work and focusing on is how do we address, identify, and you know, bring down those, address ableist thinking and the barriers that might come up. So other than that, the procedure itself is public facing. It's available on our website in our procedure area where you can find it. There may be future revisions to this procedure, and that's really why we're bringing it forward to SEAC tonight, is to get your guidance, advice, input, feedback, all of which is welcome, particularly moving forward on how we can improve, tweak, and modify this procedure to meet the needs of everyone coming from a very inclusive, holistic lens. That concludes my report.
That all for staff?
Yep.
All right. Any questions, comments? Donna?
Around the age majority consent, there's a difference between that consent and the Consent Act, where we're talking about health. And I think there needs to, if it isn't explained somewhere, it's got to be explained, because more often than not, it's not, I have seen, and I've had parents talk about children being basically giving direction to not have parents at an earlier age. And it has not at 18, it's more at an earlier age. And part of that is because there's a difference between, as I said, the Consent Act around health than there is on this. So I think there has to be some clarity. Like I haven't read, sorry, the policy, but I think there needs to be some clarity there because consent is very different with our paraprofessionals than it is the age majority. And so I think in some cases, there's been some confusion with that. Because a child can withdraw their consent at an earlier age with a paraprofessional than they can in Ontario. It'll be very clear because there's a really great chart that is available that compares across the province. Is very different, looks very different in Ontario than it does elsewhere. So I think that is a caution to explain that. Because then yes, when it comes to a child being 18 and consent, but there's also the issue of, you know, many parents have struggled when they see their child struggling and they refuse to have the parent there as well to support or provide information that the child may not necessarily give, or the adult in this particular case, the age of majority adult will not necessarily give freely. So I appreciate the fact that you said that, you know, leave things as it is, and, you know, unless there is the issue of consent brought up, because that becomes very difficult trying to navigate that, especially when the parent is trying to support, when communications or just the frame of mind that the individual is in.
Thank you for that. I've written down some of that to take back as feedback, and also just for clarity for the room, for everyone. The status quo is to remain in place while we work towards creating some really concrete procedural pieces so that we have clear direction on how to move forward. So, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Allison?
This is just a quick question for you, Connor, and this may be beyond the scope of the intent of the community partnership impact update, but I'm just wondering, has there been consideration given to offering or making parents as caregivers aware of supports, parent support groups and caregiver support groups, self-care, that kind of thing?
So I think in this one, I think you framed it well in the sense that would go outside of this particular impact update. But in terms of other groups, again, whenever there's consideration that might be something that would be worthwhile, whether if it's, again, some of our clinical teams who are connecting people to different resources, or again, our school administration, or again, just around that, there's always those connections that are looking for. And again, trying to make sure that we're finding things that are where appropriate, again, culturally relevant and identity affirming where they are possible. So yeah, there is lots of that. And ultimately it was hard. And this is why I think, again, when I say I was a little particular around some of the writing around some of these, and with some things, it was trying to capture all the different partnerships and like how things are. And one, as we know, it's a very quick impact, like it's a quick update and quick shot on it. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, all right.
Sorry, Sarah, but Alice, I just wanted to add interesting question that I think wonder how literally is all of the community partners that were present last night at the session, which is actually quite brilliant. We had a good conversation about how do we get this into the hands of those that maybe weren't able to attend last night. This document is available. I'm going to say it nice and loud. This document is available online, which is actually fantastic because what you're asking for is embedded into this document. It also lists for families what the program offers, how they get in touch, and has a little QR code that links you to the website for the organization as well. So I think this could be a really powerful tool as well to bring that information to the community. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Kelly.
So at the Life Beyond High School event, I learned at pretty much all of the different organizations, they were offering people to just go and set up, if they want to do tours. So if people want to go and actually just learn and find out and spend actual time to say, okay, what is this about? What do you offer, like in a direct being in person sense? They did offer that. So that was good to learn. So that families they don't have to go through the phone and like worry about they can actually set up, time to go and see in person. So I thought that was good to share.
Anything else? I do have one question. Joe, on the age majority side.
Sure.
One of the things that I actually struggled with as well, and I know as other parents have as well, is what is informed consent? Especially when dealing with some of our children with cognitive disabilities, is like, how do you really know? Like, I got Adam to sign this because, things before we got direction, but I'm like, does he really understand what he's signing? That sort of thing. So and again, yes, it's good intent and we're doing this because we want to support our children and that sort of thing. But at the same time, we're talking about a quasi-legal document for someone who is technically an adult in the eyes of the government. And how do we go about the whole conversation about what informed consent is? And then I just went down a whole other rabbit hole about everything else that the government assumes that my child is fully capable of now that he's technically chronologically an adult. And it's one of those things, like, how do we help support that? Because, there's children who are unable to sign, and they might be able to go and provide consent verbally or through, augmentative devices, but do they understand what this truly means? Like, I tried to explain it very simply to my child, but at the same time, there's lots of implications with those types of conversations and things like that. So how do we get there like that? And I know that's not an easy answer. Like, what does that look like? So that's kind of my one concern that.
Joe, do you want me to?
So I think,
No, go ahead.
I think that point is really an important one, and one that as a system, we need to define, help to make sure that we have a very clear understanding of supporting families along the way. And many of the conversations that I've had with the team that I support, so the transition to work team, as transition coordinators, they're often navigating these conversations with families and working towards finding that space and walking that line to both honor the student as a human being, and those who's come into maturity and their privacy and the rights awarded to them based on their age, and also understanding that they still may need supports from family, and how do you walk that together hand in hand. So I think it's like you said, it is a much more broader question. I would offer that consent is that informed consent. It's not just the letter itself, understanding what goes into, and whether that looks like a capacity building, whether it looks like how we define and determine that, I think are pieces that we need to take away and explore, and are definitely open to best practices, especially from those around the room who are working with agencies and community partners who are facing the same complex issues and complex situations. So to hear, what are best practices amongst those here and amongst those that we work alongside, and be able to borrow and leverage those best practices in our own work.
All right then. Moving on to board report.
The board report is actually fairly short. That we received the Mass Achievement Plan update, a report on capital plan submissions to the ministry, as well as a report on enrollment in schools offering French immersion, because we have some issues around French immersion actually has declined or hasn't increased at the pace it used to be before COVID. And so there's a report with options where trustees are considering what to do with that. And the student report, of course, student trustees reported on the student senate work that they have been doing. Very short.
We also approved Elizabeth?
Yes, sorry.
She's sitting over there.
But that was at the last meeting. Wasn't that at the
I
last
thought
meeting?
that we did that last meeting.
No, that was at the last board because it has to be done at board. This was standing.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, I forgot that.
One
Yes,
was
we did.
right after.
Here I am.
It was right
Right
after.
after.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Furiously getting.
Yeah,
Good.
it was right after. it.
Very good. Any questions for data board report? No. All right, moving on to item number 9, consultation, inclusive student services, the ISS website update.
Okay, that's me.
Here we go.
This, what we're hoping to do tonight, we know that SEAC, from our SEAC survey, feedback was quite clear that communication with families was an area that we really need to focus on. One of those things that, one of the first steps in doing so is to really look, we want to look at our DDSB, Special Education Inclusive Student Services website. We'd like your feedback tonight. We're going to take you to the website. We did mention that if you have a device to bring one, because it'll allow you to navigate back and forth through the website. I have an extra one here if someone needs one. But we're going to take you to Inclusive Student Services. And as you're looking through and having an opportunity to glance, our team, Joe and Connor and I are going to use markers and record on this paper behind us what you think we should add to the website, what we need to keep moving forward, and potentially what we need to remove. So we'll be recording as you're looking and sharing. If you wanted to go to the DDSB website on your own device, it would be, it's quite simple, www.ddsb.ca. And then once you're there, Connor's going to show us how to find our particular page here.
Lauren, do you know if Grandview has given us a security code for their Wi-Fi?
It's right here.
Oh,
on the
thank you so
whiteboard. Sorry,
much.
that's important to know.
Got it. Thank you.
So it's,
I just wouldn't say it out loud.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's this thing over there.
We'll give you a second just to find where. Tell you what, does anybody need, I have a device here if anybody wants one.
Is this something that is going to be broadcastable? Is anybody going to know? Are we going to know?
That's a great
Do
question.
we want to do this in camera just for noise, or
I
is
think
this, we're going to still, it'll still be coherent for anybody
it
that's
should be,
watching?
because we're just gonna have
Okay.
one person at a time share. And John, just to confirm, that's projecting, yeah, okay, thank you. So we'll just give you a second to log in. Works. Connor, do you mind taking just a second
Yeah, yeah.
to
You just
just,
tell me what you need.
yep, just take a second to do a general overview, a very high level overview of what we have on our Inclusive Student Services website.
Yeah, so again, super high level. I want to respect what Trustee Miller had just said. Said, oh, a lot of words that we just saw, right? So that would be something to definitely take a look at in that sense. So what you'll see is you'll see a general outline of the department. You will have some general goals around what the department is doing, as well as some of our links to our larger documents, as well as including, again, special education plan, which we publish annually, human rights, inclusive design, human rights and anti-discrimination and anti-racism policies. And then we also have our guide to IPRC. So a lot of those really frequently sought after guides, so that they were landing front page for everybody as well as the impact updates from the past few years as well. So you see them listed as we are there. Rolling down, you also have services as well as the various teams. They're listed as services, but some of the various teams and roles that are part of the department or connected to the department. You will have and understanding, again, just what that means about programming and inclusive programming for students with special education strengths and needs. There is the statement around regular class with indirect support, as well as what that looks like within the regular classroom, as well as special education class placements. And as we continue to scroll, you will see our many paths document, as well as the other documents that exist around the special education class placements that are part of the DDSB. We land there. The other highlight on the right side, all of these are, I think they prefer them as like the fan out type of menus, and that they can just kind of pop open around there. So some are hyperlinked, but something like technology supports, you click on it, you have a statement around what technology supports are. You will have facilitators, and you'll have an explanation around who a facilitator is, who is a special education facilitator. On the right-hand side at the top, looking at contact to Lauren as well, but again, looking at some of those other components. So some of those teams that might be sitting there, some of those frequently accessed links. So these were put on basically off of traffic from the other links that were there. So what were the things that were getting clicked on quite often from there? So things, again, no surprise of guide to IPRC, obviously one, right? Because you may have been handed to you, maybe an email to you, but you may also just be looking for it, right? In terms of what it looks to. SEAC, roll SEAC, and then click on the link. That will take you to the various groups. Again, similar format. You'll notice this across the DDSB site in general, that you will have a similar feel and flow to everything, in the sense that you will touch something and it will generally expand out from there. So that's us out there, SEAC, right? And in terms of, again, a link to the brochure, to what the associations are, the expectations, right? We're looking at membership opportunities to be part of that, and the role of SEAC. Again, you'll notice everything is generally a flow from a move down, as well as the list of the various components. So again, if we were to click on DDSB trustees on SEAC, here is the role that they are serving at this point, right? And the purpose of the trustees being part of that. Anything that I could pull up onto the screen that would make anything easier for anybody to be able to see, or that would be that you want to see a bit more, you want me to kind of touch?
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Can I ask that we, two things that I just wanted to highlight, which again tie back to information that came out of the SEAC survey. One was understanding IPRC process and creation of an IEP and how that gets monitored. So a couple pieces that I just wanted to highlight, and I'm sorry if I'm going to make it hop around here a little bit. The many pathways to success, the long flow chart that we have. I saw it, I just can't remember where.
It's down, I know. I'm just
Sorry, don't want to hurt
getting
everyone.
there.
Sorry, I took you to.
No, that's okay.
So what's great, it has to load here. It's just kind of, I think it's loading.
Being slow.
It's very slow. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight is in our conversation around the last SEAC, when we had the SEAC survey, there was conversation about implementation of an IEP, monitoring an IEP, what families can expect in terms of when my student has an IEP, what is the process? What would that look like? So there is a document within here called Many Pathways to Success. And I think we just, if it will load, we can.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely does talk about.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Connor, you know that it's a yellow one.
Second plan on
Yeah, I
page 30.
We can also go there. And sorry, I didn't prep Connor to take us there, so it's not, if this is my fault right now, my apologies, but. Okay. And Lisa's telling us it's on page 30. This is a very large document, and But what it does have is all of, this is a really comprehensive, there it is right there, document. But this is one that I think I really want to highlight in terms of the process, what families can expect in terms of, you're worried about your child. I'm not sure what to do next. I'd like to meet with the school team. This is a step-by-step process that the school will follow. And I think it's really key to highlight some of the communication points that are built into this process that we could share with families, because I do think it really relates back to some of the items that were brought up in the SEAC survey. So I think this particular document is quite helpful. And alongside the special education plan itself, as I said, it's quite a large document. You can see, I think that says 204 from here without my glasses on. Okay. And so it is a very comprehensive document if families are looking for any information about what supports are available, process, what class placements are. So it sits on as you can see, it's embedded into the website as well. Any other wonderings or things that you'd like us to click on or dig deeper into, share with you, or would you rather just sort of dig around a little bit?
I just had a very minor issue, is that my name is spelled wrong, which means that an email wouldn't get through to me. So my surname is Eamer, and it looks like someone typed Earner, which actually happens a lot.
And it's 2 L's, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's the surname that's not correct.
I'll get somebody to fix that. Thank you.
So where it does list the names of members and trustees, I remember when I tried to navigate, like I was looking for somebody because I wanted to just copy it so I could just like copy paste in an email. There was some that had emails, some that didn't. So I'm wondering, is it that you someone would click on the name to be directly sent to their inbox, or that is it listed? I haven't checked since the last time for SEAC members. So this is where it has the members.
I think if you click on
That's updated, okay. What about word trustees? So is it that? That's updated.
that needs to have email addresses.
Okay, so it's not live, okay. So, that a reason?
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't. It's interesting because the other ones are.
Maybe there was.
So as you're scrolling, please feel free to share any feedback that you have. We'll just record it on the posters here in terms of things that you think we need to consider adding, things that we need to remove, adjust.
Charmaine.
On the front page of the board website, there's different links. There's nice, really colorful buttons, boundary review, consultation, and then SEAC. When you press on that SEAC, it doesn't take you to that page should it be taking you to the page that Connor's on right now?
It's both that's an advertisement for our member at large. So let's see where that takes us.
I'm clicking it. I don't know
Okay.
if that's my computer imploding today. So, okay, Anthony's saying it's taking them there.
When I click on it, I get to the SEAC page.
The one that you saw on the screen?
This one, it has our committee member names and
Yeah.
all of that.
That's where I'm at. It's
And-
under committees, not under SEAC.
Right. Oh, I see what you mean. Right.
And it's not actually taking you, like if it was taking you to member at large position that was showing that posting, I would understand that, but it's not taking you there either.
I see what you mean.
So
No, it took me straight.
like it'd be great if that button took you straight to the actual web page. that's about SEAC rather than just the brief overview of the various committees within the DDSB.
Why you do that?
And even when you get to that section, there isn't, not that I can see anyway, there's no link to get to the page that Connor was just showing us that has all that detail.
So we'll correct the link.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the actual.
I think I noticed that there wasn't, I can't remember where Connor was showing it,
This is not.
Yes.
where
yes,
it was
this is the
listing
website, right?
supports for hearing impaired students, et cetera. That I did not see one for visually impaired children.
So under association memberships, yes, I don't know, committee members.
Are you talking about the ISS?
Right.
Sorry, can we go back? Sorry, can we go back? So how did we get to the page again with the listed
Well, it doesn't affect you,
member,
does it?
like that? Yeah,
Right.
that's,
Right.
where did we go to get to that? Run the drop down, where I'm at the top, so this, that's here, okay. Yep.
Charmaine, I'll have, when he's all set.
Yeah, of course.
That one's not up to date because it has more.
Oh, because it's different on the phone. Okay, so
Yeah.
then here,
3 pages is.
Yeah.
yeah,
they
3
have
pages, yeah,
addition, okay. association.
And Deb Oakfield.
In a different order.
Yeah, there's some people. who
This is
aren't on there.
updated, 'cause when I,
I think she said it was 30.
okay, this is what I'm saying. This is how it's showing. It's saying email, but is it different on the device? This is how
You're
it
not
looks
on
like.
there, Charmaine, are you?
No.
Your name is missing?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
Kush-
because
Sorry.
it's a good thing to check.
Okay, so this is why I thought the same issue, it could have been different from a main device versus mobile. So when I go to the committee members on the device, it shows some numbers and then it says email, but not the, like, it doesn't say the actual email. So that's why I was wondering if it's a clickable. So it comes up as a fill in, what do you call that? Like where you have to fill it in, like
Yeah.
but it doesn't,
You have the email address.
yeah, on the
Okay.
mobile feature.
Almost as if it's going to general inquiry.
General, yeah.
Yeah, we
general
don't want
inquiry.
that, okay. No, we don't want it to do that. I think we would rather it go to.
Right, so that the person can, especially if you just want to quickly go on the website and say, oh, who is my email, right?
I have a general comment.
Yes, please.
Just if. I think like Kelly's first one, whoa, that's a lot of words. Yes, it is a lot of words. And just, I'm wondering if we don't have an FAQ. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's I think my child needs help. What do I do? And then, oh, okay, here's the pathway to success and we can, some things that you can do, or here's the person to go talk to, something like that. It just, in terms of, like, there's a lot of really good information here, but I have no idea what's relevant if I am not immersed in this world.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if there's a way to just kind of, I'm not going to say dumb it down, but just to the point of easy entry points for people to say, because there's so much information here, and sending somebody into the spec ed handbook is like, it's 205 pages. I don't know what I'm supposed to look at right now. Is this relevant to me? Is this not? Who do I talk to? Oh my gosh, I'm too overwhelmed. What is going on? Is there easier ways to sort of, it looks like you're trying to write a letter. What would you like to do? Just even something like that, that just, some general help guiding things. I'm wondering if something like that would be helpful.
And the AI, right underneath it, the AI link has clickable buttons. So they have all the text because I know there's a standard, the board every page has to look the same. So I understand that. But they also have these clickable buttons that are colorful that says, information, blah, blah, blah. Like it's telling you exactly what you're looking for. So I'm thinking back to Lauren, what you shared about the IPRC process, which many parents probably want to find that. I'm not going to find it in that document on page 30. But if it was linked, need information about the IPRC process, and it's a clickable button, and it goes straight to that page, or the pages that are relevant to that, not another page of text, but the actual page with those nice, colorful step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, for those key elements would be really, really great. So, and I know it's like keeping the style format of a board website, but if it was just clickable. If I have a student who's visually impaired, ding, this is some of the things I have a student who's got an LD or is struggling with an LD, ding, this is where I go.
One of my hats a long time ago was actually website design. I did site structure consultations with companies. And this is, I'm sorry, like, this isn't user friendly to me, as has been said, is that when honestly, I really, so it is very important. ISS is very important. All that stuff that's said at the very beginning is really not important when I'm as a parent. I'm a first time starting school. Where do I start? When it comes to, I have a child with special needs, where do I start? So what usually we do for websites is taking your FAQs and then grouping them into what are the main menu categories. And as sort of as said, it could be, my child has this disability. Where do I go? That might be. And then they can feed up, okay, now, and yes, there'll be cross links, but it'll always there, but it's always linkable. And so this is what I'm finding, that, the board's website as a whole is focusing on not the parent, because I can tell you the parent, like looking at this, as I said, that doesn't have, especially when they're very beginning, they won't know some of these terminologies at all. And so I would say that structure it from looking at what are the frequently asked questions, and then group them into, yeah, I'm a new student, I have a new parent with a child, especially starting school, and then you go into the other. But I honestly, even if you started off with a easier version of that chart, this is the steps, where am I in those steps? That would even be better, but I just don't see it from a parent user's perspective, set up for a parent perspective at all. Sorry.
Just to add to what Trustee Edwards was saying, so like, I think in that, because I don't know how far we're into the steps of actually redoing this, but just even to start from a lower level, just to simplify some of those pages, and I think even using color. So when you're talking about frequently asked questions, like if you keep some type of color trend, it helps to identify. So you see like color that deals with this items, right? And even in the FAQ, those links could be there to those documents. So it's, because if it's a frequent asked item, it might be relative to the needed document or the necessary document. So I think that'd be a good thing, is to link the documents to that frequently asked question area, and use of color, use of like, in other words, you can condense information by organizing it through some visual aspect.
I was thinking along the lines of what others were saying, but instead of writing all that like a research paper, maybe do a video introducing what inclusive student services is like. So instead of having to read all that, it would be easier to follow if you could do a video for that. That's what I'm thinking.
Allison.
Two things. The first is that the term impact update isn't going to mean anything to parents. So I think it should, say, impact update in brackets newsletter, or however it's defined. It's not a term that, like, if I was a parent, I wouldn't know that I should click on that to see what's the latest and greatest things that are being done in DDSB. So I would just define it. I also think IPRC as an acronym is used without it being spelled out, which again is something we can't assume parents new to public education are going to be familiar with that. So special education resource teachers is spelled out. But the first time IPRC is used, which is under the 2026, it just says guide to parent guardian guide to IPRC without explaining what that is.
I was just thinking about the keep section, so I see, can you read that one,
Many pathways to the success document, but in a much more easy to find clickable
Okay,
way.
so I do agree that some of the headings are very important and necessary because it like even just changing the layout. So I would say keep important headings. Like they are important to be if you're a reader and you want to be able to say, okay, I clicked on this and this is exactly what I like. What I get, what I click is what I get. I think keeping some of the headings in the way they're laid out is okay. Just not the design of the page, but the links. I mean you got what I'm saying. Yes, just to keep the important headers because they can take the person to the right information right away. Yeah.
Liz? Yeah, well, I was also in the keep section. I was just looking at the sort of main DDSB landing pages. What if I was a parent who just felt like I wanted information? I have a kid who has special education needs. What can I do? Who can I talk to? I don't know that I would necessarily be searching the term inclusive student services. That's not totally transparent. So I know it's there and it's a good thing that it's there in both programs and learning and under family and community support. What I thought I would do if I was that parent was maybe use the search bar and type something like special education. And that does link through to ISS. So I think that's a good thing. That's worth noting that. And I don't know if somebody has any ideas about what other search terms people might be putting in and making sure that that all links to the right place. Otherwise, it might seem a little bit hidden.
Just one thing that I was thinking about adding, I don't know how this lands, but I was thinking of the idea of the actual navigation, like so when somebody, so like we talked about ease of use. So literally actually having something that directs you to like an example, so it's like a demonstration that says, are you trying to find this? Like just something that tells you where to go. Like I've seen that on other sites. It doesn't have to be very confused, like, but just so that it helps to show people an example of where things are located, because there are so many necessary documents and pages. I think some type of navigation tool on the actual page be helpful. Or like instructions that like it says like if you want to go, if you're looking for this, go here, or like some kind of visual.
If there was a button on the front page of the website to inclusive schools, I'm kind of surprised that isn't there.
Student services.
Yes, right, inclusive student services, yes.
Connor, can you show us, can you go back to actually how you got to this?
Maybe it looks different on a phone than it does.
Yeah. It does. The formatting does look quite different.
That's what
And I
my
think
issue.
that's what,
To other programs and learning or.
right, so we can go to programs and learning, and we can go over to inclusive student services. There is also family and community support, takes you to the same link. But I also wonder in the current day and age as well, is there something agentic that could potentially take us there? Is there something that could be kind of built into, like, what are you looking for? Type it in. And again, I don't know where we are at with that.
Because there is.
It's not concern of my child, I'm not looking under programs and learning.
Yeah.
Programs and learning sounds like for teachers.
Sorry.
I did a search, just says my child has a disability, just whatever, and ISS doesn't show up, but the first thing that shows up is accessibility. It doesn't take me, like that result doesn't come up, and that's a problem.
So
No, I have one more thing. We have some really good stuff in here.
Yeah.
But it's buried. Like, do you know what I mean? Like inside the special education IPRC, like PDF, there's a lovely page 5. What is an IPRC? It's lovely, it's bulleted pointed, it's fantastic. I'm like, why is that not more easily available? But it's buried inside the thing. Like that would be something you could pull out and put as a visual graphic somewhere. Like, do you know what, like some of those basic hits, like to your point, Allison, to say it's buried under the thing. I don't know what an IPRC is if I'm brand new. Like, what's an IPRC? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's relevant to me. Click. You know, that comes, and then I can go into the details. I'm wondering if there's something way we could pull out some of the really great info that we've got buried in the handbook and we've got in these other things and pull them out, because the quick hits of the big pieces of information, if that might be helpful, again, because again, it helps break up some of the words, but then it's like, oh, this is important. I need to pay attention to this versus just other thoughts as well. Because we do have a lot of really good info here. It's just, I think it's hard to find.
It's right here. And there's, right. And then I find is that when you can never click. But I can see where I put it.
Yeah. There's multiple pathways here.
Yeah.
these are changed.
It's even like I'm seeing quick links right on my mobile device, right off the main page. I would really love to see ISS or special education /ISS right here. It's a quick link. Why do I need to go click programs of learning, scroll, and then it's buried in here. You can also find inclusive student survey. It's not listed as a standard program. Like, you know, this is the mobile version. The mobile version is a lot less, is even more hard to find information. Like if you look at this, inclusive student services is, you can also, like, there's listing all these different types of early years, elementary school, secondary school, adult education, some words, more programming, words, and then links for First Nation, Métis and Inuit program, and then more words and links, but it's buried. It's not like front and center. So I had to know to go look for it. Oh, there it is, to find it before I could get to the inclusive student services page. Like, it's not laid out the same way. It's there. So the mobile device one is a little less friendly. Okay. Last year.
Oh, sorry.
I don't need you. I'm studying too much, obviously.
Any other comments? Lauren, have you got some
This is fabulous.
fodder here
This
for?
is fabulous. Thank you.
I thought the paper came like that. So I was like, hey. My eyes would see it like what? Like I thought it was like the paper just comes already. Maybe the ad keep removed.
Okay. All right, then, I guess we will put that, if anything else, I guess, pops up, Lauren, send it over through
Email. would be great. Yeah,
emails
yeah.
in
Send it to me.
to Lisa and stuff. Anything else that, as you're looking at it, go hop? That would be fantastic. Awesome, thank you, everybody. Where are we? Item number 10, business arising from the minutes. SEAC survey planning.
That's me again.
Mhm.
Okay, so we may need to pause the video just because it's going to be, not yet, but when we get started, because it'll be quite busy. But what I've done is we had the presentation at previous SEAC from Chris Conley and Leslie Parsons around key themes that came out of the SEAC survey. So what I did was I tried to summarize those on the posters here. So what I'll share with you is the theme from the survey of how can we increase awareness of supports and accommodations available to our students was one theme that came through. We have another poster over here that says, what can we do to support learning environments that are inclusive for all students? Another was ensuring implementation of the individualized education plan. And another, the key theme was communication with families as an area of focus. And then I had over here, I just put an other, because there may have been themes that really resonated with you that weren't some of the key ones, but we don't want to not include those in the conversation. So what I hoped we could do tonight is, from the lens of the association that you represent, or as a member at large, the survey is filled with feedback from families already saying, can you do this? We'd like you to have that, like, please do this. We'd like an opportunity to have. But what we need, so we have that feedback already, but what I'm hoping you can help us with tonight is, based on what parents are telling us and what we know, what can we do as a system to address those particular needs? And so what I'm hoping we can do is, we put Post-it notes around the tables. We're going to open up to some conversation and it might get a little loud, but opportunity to move around the room and for you to put Post-it notes and give your thoughts and feedback on what are ways we as the DDSB can address these really key themes that have come out of the SEAC survey. And so open conversation. When you're ready, put your Post-it notes up. And then we'll take that feedback back and use that to do some action planning around next steps.
Okay, all right, how long do we want to take for?
I think we had, let me get me the classes again. It looks like we actually had 30 minutes.
Okay, so do we want to take 10, 15 to do the thing? We'll go off camera and then we'll come back and present information
Sounds
and
perfect.
answers. Does that sound okay? All right, so we'll join back in about 15. Is that 15? That sounds okay for everybody? Okay, thank you. Welcome back. Thank you everyone for your patience waiting online. We had some good conversations, it looks like, from the stickies. There's a lot of conversation that went into it. So I think if everyone's okay with it, is there anything across pages that we can sort of share for everyone to with the groups, because everyone was in individuals. Is there anything that anyone would like to share from each section? So we can sort of summarize some of the conversations around and some of the ideas that we've put up. Start from there. Start with, how can we increase awareness of supports and accommodations available to our students? There was a large grouping over there near the end. Does anybody want to?
Yeah, I'll jump in. There was a lot of conversation about lots of different things, but I think maybe one that really stood out, one of the many ideas that stood out, was the idea of safety and centering safety in terms of how we're framing accommodations and support. That it's about safety of mind, body, spirit, and each other. And as parents, particularly when their children are entering the school system in JK, they want to know, is my child going to be safe in this space, regardless of whether they have needs or not? So maybe just something for our group to consider is, how are we centering that piece, that conversation, that language within this work?
That is an underlying fear, is it not? Whether or not you realize that's what you're worried about. That's really cool. What do we got? What can we do to support learning environments that are inclusive for all students? I didn't read there. Does anybody want to share something that they've put down? Anybody put anything down there? There's sticky notes, so someone put something down.
Take it there. I can run over and read. Do you want me to?
Jordan, do you want to read something from the list?
I put something that when I was in school was beneficial. So like if there's like an accommodation that, like, let's say one student has, like, like those noise canceling headphones. And one way to sort of kind of like keep it destigmatized, instead of being like, oh, this is for this person. Just be like, here's 4 sets of headphones. If it's too loud in here, put them on. That type of thing, of just something. It does kind of involve into, what's it called? Like an inclusive, like learning environment of just like, it's like the accommodation is already sort of there, but let's say like if it's specifically required for one student, just having it's, if possible, having it available for all students, because while it's a necessity for one, it will still help others.
Being proactive
Yeah.
in providing those. That's very cool.
Also, you can read it if you want.
Sure, let's go for it.
There's also encourage relationships between kids, I think it's with disabilities and without.
Mhm.
I mean, sounds good to me. Up-to-date technology and great access to assistive devices, robust staff education, ability to collaborate quickly and easily with community partners. That's sort of what's here.
Thanks, Jordan.
That was perfect.
Appreciate you. All right, moving on, ensuring implementation of the individualized education plan. So there was a few of us there, and I think some of the key points that we'd sort of talked about was, Jordan made a really good point about one of the things that, I will paraphrase for you, please correct me if I misspeak, was talking about learning self-advocacy skills and how important it is, especially when you leave the public sport and you leave and you go to post-secondary, that all of a sudden you're a grown-up now and you now have to self-advocate for yourself. And now it's a proof that you need the accommodation scenario. So if you do not know how to self-advocate, you are in a lot more trouble than you were in your elementary and secondary school career. The other thing, talking about implementation of the IEP, was just ensuring we need to sort of focus, and I think that's something we've talked about as a theme, which was consistency of execution across the system. every parent has that story, right? Where that one school or that one year, this terrible experience, and we had to fight for access and fight for accommodation and those sorts of things, and the angst and the safety that the children don't feel, and they don't feel valued, and they feel ostracized and stigmatized because it's just not a given. And they had to fight for it, and you almost like, I don't deserve this sort of thing. Is how do we build that consistency of execution across the system? Like, how do we make people accountable for implementing those things? I think it was kind of it. Jordan?
That kind of links back to what I was
Yeah.
saying, of giving those kids that if a child is able to communicate and advocate for themselves, it's important to sort of be like, okay, so if you don't feel like your IEP is being followed, this is who you go to. If you don't, or if you think that something in it needs to be changed, or you are still struggling in this area, this is who you talk to. Like maybe bring it up with your teacher, the CERT, whoever else it is. I'm that type of thing of like giving them that base level of not just kind of, because what I found is when I was in school, it was very much like nothing, I didn't know where to go or what to do until I talked to my parent about it. And then it would be like, okay, then once the parent says something, it's then got moving. But if a child can identify their own need or knows what to do or how to sort of communicate how how their like IEP helps them or what it's for, and like if they have that understanding, if they're able to understand that, having that education for them gives them that ability to then sort of make it, and like that understanding that this is something that is their right, that it isn't like a privilege that is like can be, because I experienced that when I was in school, a teacher being like, oh, well, no, I don't like I said, everybody has that story. But if a child has that confidence and is taught how to have that confidence, it can kind of mitigate that issue. Not saying put it all on the kid, but also like let the kid be, let the student be involved in all of that.
Communication with families as an area of focus. Lots of different stuff in there. Lauren, I know you wrote down a few things.
Yeah, I think we had an interesting conversation about really creative ways. What I thought was kind of neat is looking at really creative ways, lots of ideas, but one was creative ways to help families get the communication they're looking for around how did my child's day go? Because we know that looks different sometimes in different spaces. So what are some really different ways that we can start to look at? I talked about leveraging student leadership as a way to have kids help communicate what was potentially happening in the classroom that day. We talked about using AI as a tool to potentially share ideas and help kids independently share what they learned on that particular day. We talked about, there was one more, Tara, I'm drawing a blank.
We actually did we tried setting up, getting the kids to write an email to their
Right.
parents at the end of the day,
Yeah.
what they did that day.
So building some learning skills, even, and some literacy skills around sharing about my day, building it into the structure of the day so that it was part of just the process. So that it's a neat way to make sure that learning gets home, but in a way that actually is structured already into the regular day for the student.
And functional.
Yeah.
Honestly, functional in society. And then we had we have one other.
It was under other, but it was sort of already somewhat covered, and it was around student advocacy, but not only the fact that learning how to advocate, but seeking how to seek basically accountability as well. Because there's often times where a student will advocate and then they aren't necessarily heard or not, and then how to actually seek accountability from basically another leader, right? A leader from, their teacher or whatever. And I think that's really crucial from that perspective, especially at the secondary. But it's really that whole listening and developing a relationship with with the student, right? So, yeah.
Anything else, something that was resonating with other people that wasn't sort of talked about, mentioned? Allison?
It's more of a question. I'm just wondering if, in terms of the communication with parents, does DDSB have a policy about any of the apps for teacher-parent communication? Because my grandson went to the school here, the Grandview School, we got very spoiled with the Seesaw app and could just regularly get communication, just a snapshot during the day of what my grandson was doing, for example. So I'm just, is there a policy with the board? Those apps, those kinds of
There is
apps?
not. We are required to use approved apps, but teachers use their professional judgment in terms of which they choose to use. So you'll see a wide variety. Seesaw is one that has been used in the past, but it's, yeah, we can't mandate one particular one, but certainly ask teachers to use their professional judgment in how they do so.
Thank you. Then I think I'm going to put that as a post-it note up on that. Just that if you have a child with special needs in your class, maybe that's, if you're not already using an app like that, it might be a good way to touch
It is a
base
source
with
of
kids.
frustration, though, I'm not gonna lie, because depending upon which teacher who likes which form of communication, and you've got 7 different teachers, you have to have 7 different apps, or a communication book comes home, and then next year, it all changes. You know, so it's the consistency, and I'm saying we can't mandate a form of communication, and I understand, you know, there's logistics around that and that stuff, but the consumer is also being put upon as well, in terms of, now I have to deal with all of these other various forms of, oh, right, Mrs. So-and-so only talks about it on, okay, where am I gonna, you know, so it is a bit much in some cases as well.
When you have a nonverbal child who cannot communicate
Correct.
to you what happened at school today, just being able to see a picture of them with other children around, communicating with them is just, it's a sense of comfort that your child's being included. And so I'm thinking particularly for nonverbal when you have no evidence other than what you hear from the teacher.
And we did talk about that a little bit, about just in terms of what does frequent communication mean? Like, what does that standard really mean?
Yeah.
And it could be very different at, you know, elementary JK level when you're absolutely petrified for your child versus your 16-year-old sitting in grade 10 or 11 who has a much different, you know, ability to communicate and or choose not to communicate depending on where they are in their teenage years. But just that idea is, it's, yeah, just trying to, what works? Recognizing that every teacher already has a bunch of students already that they've got to deal with, so trying to make sure that they are giving appropriate time to every child, which is going to be a balancing act as well. So you don't want to overburden, but at the same time, you still want to establish that trust, establish the rapport and the communication and build the team. So where does that balance sit? Yes.
I was just gonna say along the inclusive side is that, you know, one of the things is that sense of belonging. And I even looked at, you know, the previous, we haven't got this Safe Schools, but the previous one, and there was a question around how many, if you felt like you mattered and the value there. And the way a student is, you know, is that to basically allow them to shine in demonstrating either a skill or becoming part of a leader. And I just think that that's really crucial, and a real aha moment when Victoria was going through elementary, and it's no different today because I hear it from parents, was basically at grade 4, as you said, grade 4, she stopped the socialization after school, basically stopped. They stopped getting invited to, you know, parties, et cetera, et cetera. And so, but it was really funny because later on, when she was in grade 7 is when she really got involved with Special Olympics, and she ended up going to a games. And so what they did is, because they had celebrations of, it was certificates of achievement or whatever, like the theme of the week or whatever. And so Victoria, the administrator, actually said, you can demonstrate one of your routines. And it was at that time where the kids went, wow, you can do that? Yes, it was rhythmic gymnastics, and she did. And it was just like, and that's when some of the students really started, treating her, there still wasn't the invites, but they saw her in a different light as far as that she could do something that they couldn't do. And so, and the same thing I can say when she started doing her presentations around what it means to have Down syndrome, when she volunteered in that school starting in September, but when she finally gave that presentation, the students kind of looked at her and whatever, and whatever. And yeah, she helped some of the kids, and the younger kids that she helped, they recognized and they'd say hi, but wasn't well within in the school. But when she did that presentation, and she did several throughout the school, it was, even the administrator actually at the time came to me, says, Donna, it made such a huge difference, because he says, now I see in the hallway, everybody says, hi, Miss Victoria, and they welcome her, and they ask her questions, and they, because, and it was more of that, the students really didn't know about this person that was coming into class. She looked different. She had different quirks, whatever, as far as they were concerned. So that's how you really get that inclusive, because I mean, in high school, she sat alone. She started, those same kids that were in her class, nobody talked to her. And it wasn't until a teacher basically said, hey,
Right.
we're doing this, and included her. So it's really being able to find those and cultivating that with the other students, because they all have something good to offer. They all have skills. And it's just, that's where I can only say is that that's how they fall in, because their well-being counts as well.
Kelly.
Just adding to what Donna shared, that was excellent, because I didn't put mine up there. I was gonna do it after, but just on the idea of the question there on inclusive environments and supportive environments, it's the same thing. I think it's, for me, it's the affirming language and newer diverse affirming language. Also, recognizing skills that they're doing well. So in other words, how can our students that are neurodivergent like see themselves in the learning and see that their strengths or their skills can be built to further their learning, versus it's kind of, they're told what they can do, but in other words, see themselves as part of the learning process. And that happens when they're also recognized for what they can do. So I think that's the same thing basically she was saying. Yeah, so it's also about like encouraging, right? Encouraging those parts of themselves that they can do well, that can lead into the other parts of the skills that they need to build.
All right. That was lots of work. Thanks, everybody. So I guess we'll.
So
Yes,
thank you.
next.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll take your feedback. What we intend to do is take all of that and then bring some actions back that we can share with SEAC around next steps, what we'll do with the feedback that you gave us today. So thank you very much.
All right. Moving on to association reports, committee reports. I don't think we have any. We have the Easter seals. Yes, Allison.
I don't really need to speak to it. I did just want to bring to people's attention that Easter Seals is doing an education-related survey amongst their clients. So presumably that information will be made public. And when the survey results are analyzed, and I'll share that with the group, it would be obviously relevant for us. It's asking Easter Seals parents to talk about their experiences with IPRCs and school supports and that sort of thing. So some overlap with what we're doing.
All right. 12 correspondence. I don't think we have any correspondence. Also, for next community concerns, we had nothing submitted for this month. So moving on, celebrations and successes. Anybody have anything? You're pointing at me like it's important.
No, I was gonna
Donna.
say, I just, I just say Victoria, as I said, during local government week, was also Canadian Down Syndrome Week, and Victoria gave her a presentation as well as I gave a presentation, but I thought it was really, really funny was that, you know, we talk about, you know, what we learn as well, but, two students, grade 7 and 7, 8 students introduced Victoria, and they stood there and they said, you know, how they were thrilled to have basically Miss Edwards, and they were, you know, and they were looking at her, but she was thinking they were talking about
you.
me. And I leaned down and going, Victoria, that's you. As far as that. And so it was really great. The students were phenomenal. They had so many questions for her. And she thought it was really, really great. And then she stuck around and she listened to my presentation about basically, you know, governance and the role of trustees. On the way home, she says, you know, they asked some really good questions. I said, yeah, they did. I said, it was really good. And she goes, I'm getting popular now because this is her second school that she's now has done this presentation, and they welcomed her. They said, you know, they welcomed her back anytime to be a volunteer. So she felt welcome, but it, you know, for her, it improves her speech, it improves all that stuff. It continues on her goals. But I, you know, I think it went really, really well. So it was fun.
Great story.
Yeah.
Excellent. Tremaine?
Yes, my son Adam, who was a former DDSB student, recently graduated from university. He is the first male on both sides of our family to graduate from university. And he graduated summa cum laude, which was the cherry on top. And also he's a voice actor, and he's currently the voice of McDonald's Canada. So most of the radio and social media spots for McDonald's commercials, you'll hear his voice as the.
I'm totally gonna go find one now.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen when I get home.
Love it. So super proud. And still very much advocating for the vision community as well in his social media.
He's a.
Joe.
He's active.
I'd like to share that on Monday, I had the privilege of going to Dumbarton to join the Transition to Work program. We started off the day at the Breakfast Club, where it is a really popular program there, and to see students from across the school come and enjoy breakfast, but provided in part by the students in the Transition to Work program was excellent. Then from there, we did the food lists for stocking up on the breakfast program, went to the grocery store, bought all of the items, right, as the students took the lead. They did it all independently. It was amazing to see how that program really comes to life. And the best part for me and the celebration I wanted to share was the conversations and what I heard from the students, especially students who had been in the program for a couple of years, how much they enjoy, and just that you can see the joy and the energy that they have when they talk about their experience, and also not just within that program, but what they get to do when they go out to their placements, right? Whether it be PetSmart or the Home Depot or wherever else they go. Yeah, it was just, that's a real win. That was a real win this week.
Casimir is absolutely fantastic, and she runs that program. So good.
Really cool. Excellent. I have an Adam story. He's 19 now.
All right.
You have no idea how long he's waited to be at 19. So yes, so now we have to hide the liquor cabinet.
He's like, I know.
Not really, no.
So, yes, so that's, yeah, he's been very excited. We're actually having a party tomorrow with like all, like the grownups all want to party with him because now he's 19. So that's what's actually gonna happen tomorrow. So I think they're more excited than he is. He's just looking, he's looking for presents. But yes, so
Yeah.
that's kind of it. So I'll share, there will be pictures. I'm sure there will be pictures. So I'll share those next month. So next SEAC meeting is December 4th. Reminder, please do your best to come. Quorum is important because that is actually our elections for next through year. So we do calendar rather than school year for SEAC stuff. So please that's plug-in, please come in. Great. Otherwise, I think we are done. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
This is a miracle.
Thanks, Just let it be. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Donna, second. Jordan, all in favor?
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.